Have you ever thought about what it would feel like to suddenly find out that the man you called Dad your whole life might not be your father at all? 17-year-old Liam Carter lived a quiet, picture-perfect life in suburban New Jersey. He was a straight-A student, loved playing baseball, and shared a close bond with his father, Mark Carter, a hard-working mechanic with a heart of gold. Every Sunday, father and son would go fishing together. Liam would often smile and say, "Dad, I want to be just like you." Mark would smile back, but there was always something in his eyes, a flicker of hesitation, a shadow of a secret. Then came biology class, a harmless school project about genetics. Liam needed a DNA sample from a parent to compare traits. He casually grabbed his dad's old toothbrush and submitted the sample. He didn't expect much until the results came back. Zero match. At first, he thought the lab had made a mistake. He repeated the test. Again, zero match. A third time, same result. The man he had admired all his life was not his biological father. Liam felt the ground shift beneath him. Confusion, betrayal, fear. His entire identity began to crumble when he confronted his mother. She said coldly, "Let it go, Liam. Some truths do more harm than good." But Liam couldn't let it go. He went to court. A judge ordered an official DNA test. The courtroom fell silent when the result was read out loud. Mark Carter is not the biological father. And in that single moment, 3 lives shattered, 1 truth exploded, and love was left gasping for air. But what if the biggest betrayal came from the one who said, "I love you the most"? Keep watching, because what happened next was even more shocking than the DNA test. If you want to hear the rest of this shocking and emotional story and find out what happened after the courtroom reveal, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon, because this story is going to break your heart, rebuild it, and leave you speechless. This is a story of a teenage boy who stumbled upon a secret buried deep in his family. A secret that not only shattered his identity, but questioned everything he thought he knew about love, truth, and blood. Set in New Jersey, USA, this real-life drama unfolded in a courtroom where a single DNA test destroyed trust and exposed a hidden past. Liam Carter had always believed that he was one of the lucky kids. While many of his friends complained about strict or distant fathers, Liam had Mark Carter, a man who never missed a single game, a birthday, or a bedtime story. From the time Liam was 5, Mark taught him how to ride a bike, how to throw a baseball, and how to be a good man. Their bond wasn't just strong, it was unbreakable. Every Sunday, like a sacred tradition, they would go fishing at a lake just outside New Jersey. Liam would sit beside Mark, laughing, asking endless questions about life. Mark, always patient, would answer everything, even the silly ones. It was in those moments that Liam felt closest to him. He didn't just see a father, he saw a best friend, a mentor, and a hero. When Liam got his first A+ in math, Mark took him out for burgers and proudly said, "You're going places, son." When Liam struck out in a baseball game, Mark didn't scold him. He put a hand on his shoulder and said, "Failure makes you stronger. I'm proud of you anyway." Mark was more than a provider. He was a source of strength, comfort, and constant love. Liam admired everything about him, the way he fixed cars, the way he treated people with kindness, the way he stood tall even when times were tough. Liam often told his friends, "If I grow up to be even half the man my dad is, I'll be happy." And every time he said dad, it came from a place of pure pride. Looking back, there were small moments, quick glances, silent pauses, where Mark looked at Liam like he was holding back something. But Liam never noticed. Why would he? When you love someone that deeply, you don't look for cracks. You just believe. And Liam believed with his whole heart that Mark was his father. No question, no doubt. It all started with something small, almost silly. Liam's biology teacher assigned the class a DNA project. The goal was simple: compare inherited traits like eye color, blood type, or ear shapes with a parent. Just a fun way to learn how genetics work. Nobody took it too seriously, including Liam. He smiled, shrugged, and said, "Guess I'll finally see if I got Dad's bad eyesight." At home, Liam asked his dad for a cheek swab, but Mark had the flu and was resting. Not wanting to bother him, Liam grabbed an old toothbrush from the bathroom. This will work just fine, he thought. He sealed it in a plastic bag and brought it to school the next day. He had no idea that tiny object held a truth that had been hidden for 17 years. A week later, the teacher handed back the analysis. Liam looked at his results and froze. The genetic markers didn't match, not even close. According to the chart, the person he submitted the sample from couldn't possibly be his biological father. At first, Liam laughed it off. Probably mixed up the samples, he whispered to himself. But something inside him felt cold, Liam went back to the lab after class and asked to rerun the test, this time with a fresh toothbrush. The science teacher agreed. Liam waited 2 more days, nervous, heart pounding. The new results came in. Same answer, 0% match. No shared genes, no common markers. Liam felt like he couldn't breathe. The classroom around him blurred. His hands shook as he read it again and again. He didn't tell anyone, not his friends, not his mom, not even Mark. That night, he stared at the ceiling for hours, questions tearing through his mind. Is this a mistake? Am I adopted? Is Dad not really my dad? His chest felt heavy, like something sacred had just broken, and he had no way to fix it. Liam couldn't concentrate on anything. Not school, not baseball, not even the video games he once loved. His mind kept going back to one word, impossible. He didn't want to believe the test. How could it be wrong? Mark Carter wasn't just his dad, he was his world. But the paper in his backpack told a different story, and it was breaking him. At home, Liam watched Mark laugh while cooking dinner, humming to himself, totally unaware of the storm inside his son's heart. Liam sat at the table, silent. He wanted to ask, are you really my dad? But the words stuck in his throat. He looked at the man he'd loved all his life, and for the first time, he felt like a stranger was standing in front of him. Liam tried again. He ordered a private DNA test online. He waited days for the result, barely sleeping, barely eating. His hands shook when he opened the email, and there was, again, Mark Carter. 0% probability of paternity. The same answer. No error, no confusion. Just a cold, final truth. His heart felt like it had fallen into a dark hole. Everything he knew, every memory, every word Mark had ever said, now felt like a lie. Why didn't anyone tell me? Why would they hide this? He thought. Liam wasn't just sad. He was angry, confused, and completely lost. The ground beneath him felt like it had disappeared. He avoided Mark for days. No more fishing, no more jokes. He barely said a word at dinner. Mark noticed, but didn't push. Liam couldn't pretend anymore, and he couldn't carry the secret alone. He knew there was only one person who might give him answers. His mother. Liam stood outside his mother's room for a long time, his hand hovering over the door. His heart was beating fast, like a drum in his chest. He had gone over the questions 100 times in his head. Just ask her. She'll tell you the truth. He finally knocked. The door creaked open, and there she was, sitting by the window, folding clothes like everything was normal. He stepped in slowly and said, Mom, I need to talk to you. She looked up and smiled gently, but that smile faded when she saw the look in his eyes. He sat on the edge of the bed and whispered, Is Dad really my father? The room fell silent. Her hands stopped moving. Her face turned pale. She avoided his eyes and said softly, Why would you even ask something like that? Liam held up the test result. Because I've done 3 DNA tests and they all say the same thing. Her lips parted as if she might say something, but no words came out. Instead, she took a deep breath, stood up, and walked to the window. Please, Mom, just tell me the truth, Liam pleaded, his voice cracking. She turned around slowly and said, Some things are better left in the past, Liam. That sentence hit him like a punch. Are you serious? I'm your son. I have a right to know. But she stayed quiet. Her eyes filled with tears, but her mouth remained closed. She was choosing silence over truth. Liam's chest burned with pain. It wasn't just about DNA anymore. It was about betrayal. His own mother had built his entire life on a secret and now refused to explain it. He turned away, heartbroken. If you won't tell me, I'll find out myself, he said and walked out of the room. Behind him, she whispered something under her breath, but he was already gone. Liam felt like he was running out of air. His mother refused to speak. The DNA test haunted him like a shadow. And Mark, the man he still called Dad, had no idea. But Liam knew one thing. He couldn't live with this silence anymore. So, with trembling hands and a pounding heart, he walked into the town's family court office. He was just 17, but this was bigger than age. This was about truth. He met with a court-appointed counselor. At first, they looked at him with confusion. You want to file for a paternity test against a man who raised you? Liam nodded. I just want to know the truth. That's all. The counselor paused, then sighed and began the paperwork. The legal process had begun, and there was no turning back now. A week later, Mark received the legal notice. He came home, holding the envelope, his face pale. Liam, what is this? Liam stood frozen, guilt stabbing his chest. It's a court order for a DNA test. Mark looked like the wind had been knocked out of him. His eyes searched Liam's face, not with anger, but with deep, quiet pain. They didn't speak much after that. The house grew quiet. No TV, no laughter, no Sunday fishing trips. Mark didn't argue or protest. He just followed the order. A week later, both of them sat silently in a clean, cold DNA collection center. A nurse swabbed their cheeks, labeled the samples, and walked away. Liam looked over at Mark, but Mark didn't meet his eyes. 3 weeks passed like a slow-moving storm. Every night, Liam lay awake wondering, what if I'm wrong? What if I just ruined everything? But deep inside, he already knew. And then the call came. The court requested their presence. The results were in. The truth, at last, was waiting. Inside the courtroom, everything felt too big, too bright. Liam sat with his hands in his lap, his heart slamming against his chest. The judge opened the file, adjusted his glasses, and read aloud. The DNA results confirm that Mr. Mark Carter is not the biological father of Liam Carter. The words echoed. Mark lowered his head. Liam closed his eyes. And in that heavy silence, a family fell apart. The courtroom was silent, almost painfully quiet. You could hear the ticking of the wall clock, the scratch of the judge's pen. Liam sat beside Mark, feeling like he was made of stone. Then, the judge cleared his throat and said calmly, the DNA results confirm that Mr. Mark Carter is not the biological father of Liam Carter. The words landed like a bomb. Liam's ears rang. His breath caught in his throat. He had prepared for this moment, but still, it felt like his world had just been crushed. Mark didn't speak. He simply looked down at his hands, his shoulders heavy, as if carrying the weight of 17 years of love that suddenly meant nothing. But to Liam, it had meant everything. He looked at the man who had taught him to ride a bike, who had held him during storms, who had tucked him in at night, and now, according to one test, wasn't his father at all. Tears welled in Liam's eyes, not because of the result, but because of how it was said, like it was just a fact on a piece of paper. But to Liam, it was a lifetime of memories suddenly standing on a cliff's edge. He's not my dad, he whispered in his heart. Then who am I? The judge offered a few words of sympathy, then moved on to the next case. But Liam couldn't move. His feet felt nailed to the floor. Mark slowly stood up, nodded politely to the judge, and turned to leave. Liam followed, not knowing whether to speak or stay silent forever. Outside the court building, Mark stopped. He turned to Liam, eyes full of quiet sadness. You know, he said, no piece of paper changes the way I feel about you. Liam's lip trembled. He wanted to hug him, to cry, to scream. But all he could say was, then why does it hurt so much? Mark had no answer. And for a moment, they just stood there, two people tied by love, but separated by truth. After the court decision, Liam felt like he was walking through fog. Everything looked the same, his home, his school, his room. But something inside him had changed. There was a deep hole in his heart, and it had only one name written on it. My real father. He didn't know where to begin, but he knew he had to try. He started with his birth certificate, hoping it might hold a clue. But the father's name was Mark Carter. No mention of anyone else. His mother had erased all signs of the truth. That made the pain deeper. Why would she hide this from me? Was she protecting me or hiding something worse? Liam stared at the document, angry and helpless. He tried talking to his mother again. This time he begged, Mom, please. I don't want to fight. I just want to know where I come from. She sat silently, eyes red from crying. Finally, she whispered his name was Daniel Moore. We were young, it didn't work out. That was all she said. Nothing more. But to Liam, it was everything. With the name Daniel Moore written in his notebook, Liam began searching online. Hundreds of results popped up. It was overwhelming. Some were too old. Some lived across the country. Some had no photos. But Liam didn't give up. Every night, after homework, he sat quietly, typing, searching, hoping. One night, he found an old college photo of a man named Daniel Moore. Brown hair, strong jaw, kind eyes. Liam's heart skipped a beat. He looks like me. He zoomed in on the photo and just stared. Could this really be him? There was a small company name listed below. It was a lead, a real one. The next morning, Liam called the company. His hands trembled as he spoke. "Hi, I'm looking for someone named Daniel Moore." There was a pause. Then the woman on the phone said, "Daniel doesn't work here anymore. He moved to Oregon about 5 years ago." Liam hung up slowly. It wasn't a dead end. It was a direction. Liam sat on the floor of his bedroom, back against the wall, knees pulled close to his chest. The room was dark, lit only by the soft glow of his desk lamp. In his lap, the DNA results in the photo of Daniel Moore lay crumpled. He had tried to stay strong. He had tried to act like he was okay. But in this moment, he couldn't anymore. His chest tightened. Breathing became harder. And before he knew it, the tears started falling, slow at first, then pouring like rain. Why did this happen to me? Why didn't anyone tell me? Who am I really? He buried his face in his hands and wept, not just for a father he never knew, but for the boy he used to be before this truth shattered his world. He threw the paper across the room. It hit the wall and floated to the ground like a dead leaf. Liam didn't want to be angry, but he was angry at his mom, angry at Mark, angry at a man named Daniel who didn't even know he existed. But more than that, he was just lost. He picked up an old photo of him and Mark from when he was just 5. They were at the beach, both laughing, sand stuck to their faces. He clutched it to his chest and cried harder. "You raised me. You were my dad. And now I don't even know if I'm allowed to call you that anymore." It wasn't just DNA that broke him. It was a feeling of being unwanted by everyone. Hours passed. The crying turned into silence. A silence so deep it felt like the world had stopped spinning. Liam lay down on the floor, staring at the ceiling, eyes swollen, heart numb. He didn't want to talk. He didn't want to move. He just wanted the pain to go away. But even in that silence, his heart whispered, "You're still here. Keep going." After the court verdict, Mark went straight home. He didn't say a word to anyone. He walked into his room, locked the door, and sat on the edge of his bed in silence. For 17 years, he had been Liam's father. He had changed diapers, stayed up during fevers, taught him to swim, and cheered at every soccer game. And now, just like that, it was all being questioned by a lab report. Mark opened the drawer and pulled out a small box. Inside were memories, Liam's first lost tooth, a tiny birthday card with messy handwriting, and a photo from their first camping trip. His fingers trembled as he held each item. "I was there," he whispered. "I was always there." But suddenly, he felt like a stranger in his own son's life. He blamed himself. Did I miss something? Did I do something wrong? Then he felt anger, not toward Liam, but toward the secret that was kept from both of them. Toward the years he loved Liam with all his heart, without ever knowing the truth. Still, not once did he regret being his dad. That night, he found Liam's baby blanket in the attic. He sat on the floor, holding it to his chest. Memories came rushing in. The night Liam was born, his first laugh, the way he'd called him daddy in a sleepy voice. Tears poured down his face. He had been a father in every way, except one. And now, he didn't even know if Liam would still want him. Mark wanted to call Liam, to tell him he still loved him, that nothing would ever change that. But his hand froze over phone. What if he hates me? What if he thinks I'm not enough now? His heart was breaking, not because of the DNA, but because he feared he had lost his son's love forever. Mark sat alone on the back porch that evening, the sunset casting a golden glow over the yard. His hands were wrapped around a cup of cold coffee he hadn't touched in hours. He stared straight ahead, not at the trees or the sky, but into the storm inside his heart. The test had spoken. 17 years of fatherhood, erased by one piece of paper. He kept replaying Liam's words in his head. "I need to know where I come from." Mark understood. He truly did. But it still cut deep. Does he not see what we had? Does he not remember all the nights I stayed up when he was sick? All the birthdays, all the homework, all the bedtime stories. The pain wasn't just from the truth. It was from the thought that maybe, just maybe, Liam no longer saw him as his dad. He walked into Liam's room and stood there looking around. The basketball trophy they won together. The fishing rod from their summer trips. The silly drawing Liam made when he was 5, still pinned to the corkboard. Mark touched the drawing gently. His fingers trembled. His lips pressed tight. I didn't raise him to lose him. That night, Mark opened his old journal. Page after page was filled with little memories. Liam's first steps, his first tooth, his first fight at school. Mark had written it all down, like a father who wanted to remember every second. And now, those memories stared back at him like ghosts. Beautiful, painful ghosts. Tears finally escaped his eyes. Slow, quiet, not like a storm, but like a steady leak from a cracked heart. He wiped them quickly, ashamed of breaking down. But deep inside, Mark wasn't ashamed of his tears. He was grieving the loss of a title he held with pride. Dad. Still, he whispered to himself, he's my son. Paper can't change that. DNA can't change that. Even if Liam never called him Dad, again, Mark would always carry that name in his heart. Because for him, fatherhood wasn't about blood, it was about love. Liam stared at the photo of him and Mark. They were laughing, their arms around each other after winning a school race. It was just a picture, but it told a whole story. Mark had been there through every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every lost game. So now, even after the DNA test, Liam asked himself, does blood really decide who a father is? Fatherhood is not just about biology. It's about showing up. It's about the man who wakes up at 2 a.m. when you're scared. The man who claps the loudest at your school play. The one who teaches you how to ride a bike and catches you when you fall. That's not just biology. That's love. That's fatherhood. Yes, DNA can tell us where we came from, but it can't tell us who held us when we cried. It can't measure the man who sacrificed his dreams for our future. Blood is science. But being a father is a choice made every day with love, effort, and heart. Liam thought about how Mark taught him to shave, how he'd hug him after every bad day, how his eyes lit up when Liam laughed. None of that could be taken away by a piece of paper. He didn't give me life, Liam whispered, but he gave me a reason to live it. So is fatherhood only about blood? No, it's about love that doesn't ask for proof. It's about showing up when it's hard. It's about being a hero in a child's eyes, even when you're hurting inside. Mark may not have been Liam's biological father, but in every real way, he was and always will be his dad. Some truths are written in DNA, but the deepest truths, they're written in the heart. Mark Carter didn't share Liam's blood, but he shared his life, his time, his love, his soul. Yes, biology can create a child, but fatherhood, real fatherhood, is built one bedtime story at a time. One scraped knee, one tear wiped, one proud cheer to school game. Liam's story isn't just about secrets or courtrooms. It's about something bigger. That love doesn't need permission from science. And sometimes, the man who didn't create you can still be the man who shaped you. So before you judge someone's story, ask yourself this. Is being a father about blood? Or is it about showing up even when no one else will? Because love never needs a DNA test. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more true life stories that reveal the hidden emotions behind everyday faces. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your side. And remember, the deepest truths often live in the quietest hearts.